Can a nation plant 5 million trees in just 1 hour? It sounds impossible, almost like a myth or a miracle too big to believe. But in July 2023, the people of Burkina Faso did exactly that, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This moment did not just break records. It captured the imagination of the world, and it carried a message far greater than numbers. That even in a time of crisis, unity and vision can change the destiny of a nation. Today, we revisit the story of how a young African leader inspired his people to achieve the unimaginable, and what this green miracle means for Africa and the world. The land that was turning to desert Burkina Faso is a landlocked country in West Africa. For decades, its people have struggled against the harshness of climate change. Rains that once fed the soil became unpredictable. Vast areas of fertile land turned dry and cracked. Each year, the desert advanced a little more, swallowing villages, forcing families to migrate and threatening food security. This was not just an environmental issue, it was a question of survival. In a nation where farming is the backbone of life, losing the land meant losing the future. When Ibrahim Traoré rose to leadership in 2022, he was only in his mid-30s. Unlike traditional politicians, he came from the army, with a reputation for discipline and a strong sense of justice. Many saw him as a symbol of change in a nation worn out by instability. But what made Traoré stand out was not only his military strength, it was his vision. He spoke of independence, dignity, and building a self-reliant Africa, and he knew that no such future could exist without protecting the land itself. On the 22nd of July 2023, Traoré made a bold call. He asked the entire country to join in a massive tree planting campaign. Not just a few hundred, not even a few thousand, but millions of trees. The idea sounded ambitious, even unrealistic. But the message spread quickly through radio, schools, mosques, churches, and community gatherings. Planting trees was not presented as a government program. It was framed as a duty of every citizen, a patriotic act, a gift to the next generation. When the day arrived, entire families gathered with shovels, buckets, and seedlings. Children stood beside grandparents, farmers beside soldiers, teachers beside merchants. It was not just an event, it felt like a festival of unity. By the end of that day, the impossible had happened. In just one single hour, over 5 million trees had been planted across Burkina Faso. International observers were stunned. Global headlines called it Africa's Green Revolution. But for the people of Burkina Faso, it was more personal. It was a declaration that they were not powerless before the desert. So how did this miracle become possible? First, there was leadership. Traoré's call carried authority, but more importantly, it carried sincerity. People believed in him, not as a distant politician, but as one of their own. Second, there was unity. Instead of waiting for international aid or large corporations, citizens themselves took responsibility. Every village, every community contributed. And third, there was symbolism. Planting trees was not just about the environment. It became a symbol of resistance, of rebirth, of saying, "We are here to stay, and our land will live with us." If you asked the farmers in Burkina Faso why they joined, many would not speak of statistics. They would tell you about the river that dried up, about the fields where millet no longer grew, about children who had to leave because there was no harvest. One elderly villager was quoted saying, "These trees are our prayer. We plant them not for ourselves, but for those who come after us." And among the youth, there was pride. Young students shared photos of themselves planting trees, saying they wanted the world to see a different image of Africa. Not war, not poverty, but hope and strength. The success of Burkina Faso did not remain within its borders. Other African nations, facing the same threat of desertification, took notice. Mali, Niger, and Chad, countries along the Sahel belt, began discussing similar campaigns. International environmental groups praised the initiative, calling it a model of community-driven action. The event also tied into the vision of the Great Green Wall of Africa, an ambitious project to build an 8,000-kilometer belt of trees across the continent, stopping the advance of the Sahara Desert. Burkina Faso's achievement gave new energy to this dream. Of course, planting trees is only the beginning. The real challenge is ensuring that they survive. Young seedlings need water, care, and protection from grazing animals. Experts warned that without long-term planning, many of the trees could die. But Traoré's government announced follow-up programs involving local communities to take care of the plants like their own children. The project was not about planting trees and forgetting them. It was about cultivating a culture of environmental responsibility. There was also a deeper meaning in this movement. For decades, Africa's image in global media was often negative, tied to conflict, hunger, or dependency. But here was a story of Africans rising together, not waiting for outsiders, but building their own solutions. It was about dignity, self-reliance, and the belief that a united people can achieve what seems impossible. Some called it a form of green resistance, showing that reclaiming the land was also reclaiming sovereignty. For Traoré, the tree planting miracle became more than just an environmental project. It became a symbol of his leadership style, bold, people-centered, and visionary. While his political journey remains debated, this achievement has already carved his name into history. Future generations may not remember the exact policies of 2023, but they will remember the day when millions of trees were planted in 1 hour. Conclusion: what it means for Africa and the world. The story of Burkina Faso's 5 million trees is not only about numbers. It is about what humanity can achieve when united by a shared purpose. For Africa, it is a reminder that solutions to its greatest challenges will not always come from outside. They will come from within, from its people, its soil, its courage. For the world, it is an example at a time when climate change threatens us all. If one of the poorest nations on Earth can mobilize millions of hands to heal the land, what excuse do richer countries have? In the end, every tree planted in Burkina Faso is more than just a plant in the ground. It is a seed of hope, a declaration of resilience, and a living answer to the question, what can we achieve if we believe in the impossible?